I don't hear you. You're muted. You're muted. Probably on the screen.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you. Very good. Are you now in Berlin, Renato?
No, I'm in Brussels.
Ah, okay.
So I see that the recording of the session has started. So I guess we should maybe also start here, right?
Okay, very good.
I can see now about 10 people being here, but I guess there should be more. Is that correct?
Yeah, there should be many more, and at least the people that I see now, they are, well, a bit of a home crew.
Okay. I'll just check if we are all on the right side here.
Should I already share my screen, maybe?
Yeah, maybe already start sharing. I'll just check if we are already streamed somewhere. We should be linked by now. Yeah, we are linked, and we are like now 15, 16 people.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if we are streamed somewhere.
I don't think we are.
Okay, then let's just wait like two more minutes, so because we are right on time now. Hello, Esther.
Yeah, I think we actually finished the previous ceremony 2 minutes earlier.
Yeah, so we should give the people like 2 minutes of time. So everyone who's already listening could look around their desks if you have any post-its, because we are doing a little game shortly to warm up.
Who uses post-it anymore?
Digital
that's
age.
that's one of the agile working methods, isn't it?
I have one, definitely.
I'll use a highlighter.
Okay.
So I just saw that a lot of people were asking whether or how they can join the workshop. So I just posted some things.
Okay.
And there should be coming some more people in now.
Okay, very good. Or maybe we start with a little exercise so that
Yes, happy to welcome the audience here. I am moderating this workshop and would kindly ask you to participate in a little game to warming up. My name is Jennifer Nicolai. I'm in the support team from this All Digital Summit from Joblinger. And if you have a post-it on your desk, please take it and cover your camera, because I will ask like 4 questions, and if you agree to that, I would also firstly, of course, ask you to turn on your cameras, and we will shortly pause sharing the. Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Riina. So please put on your cameras and then take a post-it and put it on top of your camera like this, so that you will only see the background or not. So if you have a virtual background, we will just see the pictures then, like you see on my desk. And then I ask you questions, and if you agree, please put down the post-it so that we can see your faces again. So, are you ready to start?
yes.
Good. Then please cover the. And who of you is in home office right now? If you are in home office, you can. Yes. So also our two presentators and leaders of the workshop are in home office now. This is Dr. Riina. Yeah. Dr. Riina Vuorikari and Renato Sabbadini. I will shortly present who that is in a minute. So next question would be, who of you is at their workplaces? These are more people. So also very welcome to you to this workshop. So please cover your cameras again for the next question. Who has a coffee cup on their tables? You can also record.
Have a good one.
Cheers to that. So, and who of you has to wear a mask on your workplace at the moment? Okay,
nice.
None except for me, obviously. Okay. Okay, then I would say let's start with a workshop session, and very welcome to the workshop DigComp 2.2. Our workshop leaders are, as I already said, Dr. Riina Vuorikari. We are very happy to have you here, and Renato Sabbadini, the All Digital CEO. And yes, please, we are very happy to have you here too. Please introduce us to the new DigComp version 2.2 and all the learnings that we are taking out of it. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Then I start sharing the screen, and I assume now you see my slides, right? Yes.
Yes, we do.
Very good. So welcome to this workshop also from my part. We have 2 halves for this workshop. First, I will start by presenting a little bit about the DigComp update. You already heard my colleague Ipini earlier today in the plenary session announcing a few details, but we will go more in depth and I will talk you through the process. I have also 2 Mentimeters here, a few little polls for you where I'm getting a little bit of a input from your side to help us get started with the update work. After that, we have a little break, convenience break, 5 minutes, And then we'll go over to discuss the community of practice, and this will be led by Renato from All Digital. So, like was already told, my name is Riina Vuorikari, and I work for the Joint Research Center. And as you know, Joint Research Center, together with the for the European Commission, has been working on the digital DigComp, or digital competence framework for citizens, already since quite a while. And what you have here is the definition that we go by. This is the updated definition by the Council recommendation on key competence. It came out 2018, and it says that digital competence involves confident, critical, and responsible use of and engagement with the full range of digital technologies for learning at work and for participation in society. Might be that not very many of you have read the exact Council resolution or recommendation and looked at the details, but if we go a little bit more in depth, what does it really mean to be digitally competent? It is not only the use, the operating of digital devices and going onto the web for searches. There's much more to it. And importantly, we talk about three different parts when we talk about competence. We talk about knowledge itself, we talk about skills, and importantly, we talk about attitudes. It might be the critical attitude, it might be the curious attitude, and so on. And by definition, the DigComp framework, it really maps what does it mean to have that knowledge, that the skills, attitudes that we today need in all aspects of our life, more and more because of the pandemic, of course, to use digital technologies in a critical, collaborative, and creative way. You all know that the DigComp 2.0 was already released in 2016, quite a while ago. And there, when we did that work, we redefined a little bit the competencies themselves. You all know that there's 21 competencies in the DigComp framework. They are in 5 areas. And there we did streamline some of the competencies. We worked on the wordings and so on. 2017, we had an update which added the proficiency levels. Before, in the version 1.0, we had 3 levels. And then in 2.1, we introduced 8 levels. At the same time, we gave more examples of use in a context of work and in the context of learning. And now what is left is to make an update of the DigComp framework to add the examples of knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And those are within the knowledge model. So to say, those pertain to each of the competencies. So for all 21 competencies, we would like to give examples of knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Let's talk a little bit more. I will just walk you through the data model of the DigComp framework so that it might be a little bit easier for you to understand what we are talking about in details. The dimension 1 and 2. Dimension 1 is really the 5 competence areas, and dimension 2 describes the titles and descriptors of each competence. They are just highlighted here in the lower left corner, and that is what we call the conceptual model of the DigComp. And those 21 competencies have remained the same since the beginning. Dimension 3 describes the proficiency levels, and that was exactly the 8 levels, and we use that metaphor of a swimmer. Examples of use, like I said, they were released at the same time with 2.1, and they were in the work context and learning. And what is left to be done is this dimension 4. And I will now give you a little bit more examples of the work that we will be doing in this update. Just as a reminder, so that you have an idea, what does this entail? Here we have the first DigComp framework from 2013, and here you see the dimension 4. So this competence that I'm showing here has those dimensions in the middle here, they are outlined. Dimension 1 and 2 was the content area. Here we're talking about the competence, copyright and licenses, the descriptor being to understand how copyright and licenses apply to information and content. And then here, when we jump to dimension 4, we can see knowledge examples, and we can see skills examples and attitudes examples. So this is the similar work that now we want to do. But in order to be also more up to date, following the time, following the development of the digital sphere, so to say, we need to really focus on today's issues. I will first give you the draft planning. Why I say this is draft planning, things are still a little bit moving. You know that the Digital Education Action Plan was just released very recently. So, and within that, there was a mention that the DigComp framework will be updated. We've been hearing this update for a long time already coming, but to be precise with the details, I'm going to say that will come later, and today we're just talking about the process and as a draft planning. The process will be managed by us at the Joint Research Center by the same team who created the framework itself, and we will include experts and rely heavily on stakeholder participation. First,
01, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, that wasn't for me, I suppose. Can that microphone be muted? Thank you. The review first step is starting by reviewing the dimension 4 in DigComp 1. We know from stakeholders, from people who have been using DigComp framework for their training purposes, for their purpose of their, was it then at the job or was it at the education, that the dimension 4 is very important in order to really outline the so to say that the scope out what is the knowledge that learners should know. So there's probably something very, very good already, well, still in the first original version, but now we need to just review them and pick up the ones that we need. Also, you heard earlier about the DigComp SAT tool, so we will be able to use the statements that were created for self-reflection purposes for people to do sort of a check where their level of digital competence is. Using those statements, we can already also get us started. Second step will be gathering examples from stakeholders. So here we know that a lot of probably you in the audience and a lot of people who are using DigComp for training purposes, for example, they have already integrated new topics in their training because they want to be up to date. So we want to gather these new topics from people who are using DigComp daily and understand what kind of things the new Dimension 4 should gather. Also from that, we can already start thinking of what are the knowledge requirements, what are the skill requirements, and so on. Step 3 will be reviewing of the pool of examples and their content. And here we look really forward to stakeholder participation. We want to have, of course, the examples from across Europe, which is the language question always there. So that's going to be a deep collaboration. Step 4 is then the real meat. We start the creation of new statements for knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And here it's very important that we follow sort of an adequate vocabulary. We need to use certain action verbs. We need to use certain terms for knowledge and attitude so that it's clear. And also we will have some varying complexity. Some examples should be easier, some have a little bit more complex tasks, and so on. And finally, there will be review of the examples and validation process. Just to tell you that we have done this kind of the focusing on exactly dimension 4 and focusing on examples of knowledge, skills, and attitude. We have done some work between DigComp 1.0 and today. In 2016, there was a release of digital competence framework for consumers. And in this framework, there was a big stakeholder participation from consumer people who are working with the, let's say, consumer sector, but also training people there and so on. And we created a set of skills, knowledge, and attitude examples for digital competence for consumers. So really focusing on the whole cycle, let's say pre-purchase, purchase, and after sale. Here you can see an example, and I have highlighted here, for example, knowledge examples. They should always, I mentioned we use adequate vocabulary, and here, for example, knowledge is knowing, being aware of something. So that's important. Here, skills examples, you are being able to do something. You can do something. You're able to check if sites offers illegal downloading or streaming. Attitude examples, you're respectful of copyright. You weigh the benefits of illegal downloading, and so on. So this is a good example if you are wondering what the update will entail. I think this is a good example to look at. Just a little bit going back to the process and drafting the roles. Like I said, JRC will be managing the process, but we will heavily rely on stakeholders and volunteers. And this is where Renato and All Digital and the community of practice will come very important to us. And here I have put in each of the steps a little bit who are going to be working, or like the important sort of doers in each of the steps. So as you see, we will start the work by reviewing, but already at the step 2, there's stakeholder participation, and there we really count on hearing back from you on topics and on your examples if you have them already. Just now we are, let's say, through the process of the update, and you will have a better idea about what it will entail. So I would like to go on and have first exercise for you. If you could please go to this this link here, and Jennifer will post also the link to the website, and there you will find a list of 6 examples or 6 topics. It'll look more or less like this, and you will have here topics, and you will have to select, you will have to rank according to your own importance. Which one of these is most important for your work, for what you're doing with DigComp, if we start talking about areas and topics. I will at the same time, if you go and look at those, the Mentimeter, I will talk you through of those contexts. You have maybe 3-4 minutes time to do this personal ranking at the same time when I'm talking. So when we list, we talk about new contexts of use. Like I said, 2016, we had DigComp 2.0. Since then, a lot of things have changed. We have new services available over the internet. We have new requirements for work, just to mention the remote conditions now for working. And so those things require new skill set from people. We want to update DigComp dimension 4 to give examples of what kind of knowledge and skills and attitude people might need in this area. Also, information literacy has always been in DigComp and has been important, but even today, the amount of misinformation and disinformation has grown immensely. So there's a need for fact checking, there's a need to check what are the sources and so on. So that skill needs also better examples. We talk about deep fakes, we talk about fake news, intentionally misleading information. So we want to give clear examples for people so that they know what they should be, for example, training or learning when they are using DigComp. Another new requirement which has emerged is this green skills when we talk about digital. That's also a policy priority right now in the European Union. But also many of you know that we have already had since the beginning competence called protecting the environment in DigComp. In the beginning, we used to talk about printing, for example, wasting paper. Please don't print this email. Many of you might have had that kind of a little logo at the end of your email. What is it nowadays that we should have there? Question mark. Don't stream. It takes a lot of server power. I don't know. This is an open discussion, and I'm also interested in hearing from you what kind of newer examples you are having. There's also a lot talking about the rare earth metals that are used for creating your iPads and smartphones. Maybe we should be talking about that when we talk about DigComp. So those are just to give you an idea of what we think needs updating. There's also a lot about new emerging technologies. Virtual reality has been discussed a lot for a long time, but finally we see a lot more interesting applications about it. Also, robotics is something that we start seeing even at homes. People might have a vacuum cleaner that is actually a robot. And so how do you need skills to program those things, or program or give them tasks? Datafication is huge. When we did the first DigComp update in 2016, social media was still a very, very different world than it is today. And there we talked a lot about creating content, but nowadays actually social media has become the main source of personal data generation. There's a lot of your personal data is all over the place. How is it used by whom? This is also something that we need to be talking a little bit more about. We have new applications. We've mentioned AI. Oftentimes we've already had recommender systems. Let's say we've had rankings before, but now they are becoming even more smart and they are using our personal data in a totally new way. Those things are something that we will want to discuss in the DigComp 2.2 update. So by now you probably have been able to submit, and I'm going to go to the, these are the results. Jennifer, do you see the results also?
Yes, I can see them.
Good, good. Does somebody need more time? Do you have, can you ask a question like, does somebody need more time, or are these the results? I don't see actually how many people have voted now, but Are they still moving?
It's 21 people have voted already.
We can give you a few more minutes time, but we can also already start talking about or mentioning. I wonder if somebody in the audience wants to comment anything about the results so far. By the way, it's important, I need to mention that there is the 7th one is a missing topic, and the next one, I'm sure that once you're looking and ranking at my list there, you will realize that there's something very important that is missing, and that will be the second Mentimeter. You will be able to write down what you're missing, and this is very important input for us for the DigComp development work. Is there somebody right now who would like to comment something? We have, I see now, I post here now we have 37 attendees. Is there somebody who would like to mention, give a sort of an impression about the results right now? Renato, are you surprised about the results?
Not really. Because, well, I would have expected the context to be number one because of COVID, etc. But I think that the choice of information literacy is somehow also determined by the COVID situation, in the sense that certainly there's a fear around by people of receiving the wrong information. So the result is not surprising in itself.
I'm also personally a little bit surprised how much lead the information literacy has taken compared. Yeah.
Yeah, but that may be, I don't know how many people did, but I did, for instance. Maybe not everyone has put all the 6 in the different order. Maybe they have chosen only the first, have decided only to put 3 and leave the others, maybe.
Exactly. Okay, well, you know what? I leave this open because I see now at the lower corner here, 27 has replied. I'm not going to close it, so we'll just go ahead and continue. Let me go back to my presentation. So then the exercise 2, what was missing? If you go to this link, and again, you can access it either with the code or directly with the link, and Jennifer puts it in the chat there. I have just given here a few examples. Basically, what you will be able to do is with the voting interface here, you will be able to write something in it. And the results will show like this. This is from my slides. I gave this just as an example, the teleworking skills, exactly the context that was mentioned by Renato. We have pretty good coverage in DigComp about communication, use of digital technologies for communication and collaboration. But again, in my own personal opinion, they are a little bit outdated. So there is some of the collaboration has become more intense now, for example, because of the video conferencing tools that are being made available. And so we might need to focus there. Another idea that came to me, or that we've been hearing also, is all the mobile payments. That's something that in 2016 hardly was there, and is very important with, especially with the smartphones. I've mentioned here Internet of Things, and this is also a topic that we're discussing together with Eurostat when we are doing the surveys, the household surveys on ICT use. We have added there about Internet of Things, and we're thinking of examples, asking people, do you use this? And oftentimes people are not even aware that, for example, if you have a thermostat at home and you can adjust the temperature at the distance, you're probably doing it over the internet. And there is, again, some data, might be personal data, also data about your habits and so on, that goes with the application. So we are, I think that's also another area where we need to be focusing on and making people more aware. But those are just a few sort of giveaways that we've been discussing. But let's see now if I go to look at the results. By the way, there's somebody who's requesting the control. I don't know why that is there, and it's here. Okay, similar things have come up and are coming up. We have some 12 people who have put up things. You can put, by the way, multiple things there, and please one at a time. And we're really interested in collecting this type of feedback from you already. Does somebody want to comment on I've put up there? I'm talking here on my own, and would be nice to hear from somebody else. Oops. Would somebody like to request to comment? Mara has a hand up. That's great. Let's hear Mara.
Yes, I actually put these competencies to learn online and use educational resources, because this is something where we as individuals, but also where employees are targeted, to use different MOOCs and other educational resources. And I think that we don't have enough support or enough competencies sometimes sources. Of course, it also relates to trainers, but then for them we have this special DigComp for Edu, where the training and learning process is described, but in DigComp it's actually very few mentions. That's why I added this aspect.
That's very interesting. Does somebody, yeah, there's other person, I will give you the floor in a second. I will just like to mention that in DigComp, the learning part has been very much focused on your own skill gap, like being able to look at your own skills, realize that you don't necessarily know everything about digital world or something, and then look for material to use. But it's the examples definitely could go a little bit further in, like, what kind of examples are there. Talking about MOOCs, that's a really good example. Using it not only for yourself, sort of out of your self-motivation, but also part of your work. Digital training becomes very important now because we don't have in-person training offered at work anymore, at least for the moment. So that's a very good point, and something to look at. There was somebody else who was requesting word a little bit earlier. Please go ahead.
Stefano has a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, barely.
Okay. No, I added something about the use of online services, banking and transport, buying travel tickets and so on. One is that in the I think it would help to clarify where these things should think, because you know that there is this ambiguity with the currently in the competence 2.3, which is about participation of citizens, which in theory covers both the civic engagement and participation in the proper sense, and the use of online services, which are not necessarily public services, can also be private. In fact, mostly are private, and they're not covered clearly in DigComp. So I think this should be addressed better. And also, I think I didn't write it down, but it's a hot topic, for instance, in Italy now, but I guess probably in other countries. We're moving towards single identification systems, digital systems that you can use across the public sector to use their online services, pay taxes and things like that, and access your health records and so on. And it's going to take a few years before the whole population has these credentials and learns how to get them and learns how to use them and so on. So this is also related to the use of online services.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a really good addition, and thanks for taking up that, Stefano. Yeah, we had, of course, we have to leave on our time, but there's definitely room for that kind of very concrete use cases. And I like that you're also very concrete about that. Please write down the one about authenticating you for e-governmental services and other services, because that's also a good point to keep in mind. There's somebody else who has also asked. Please go ahead.
May I?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Oh, thanks. I read digital well-being. Could you explain better at this point, please? I mean, the meaning.
The digital well-being?
Yes.
In DigComp, currently, what we have there, we have referred to the definition from WHO, which says that well-being focuses on physical well-being, mental health, and social well-being. So currently the examples, let's say, about physical well-being are a lot about ergonomics. So might it be the time you spend online, you're in a bad position. Well-being, psychological well-being, there we discuss a little bit about bullying, not probably enough, but that also needs to be extended out more to, let's say, you have addictions, you have other things now that COVID has also brought in people to spend way too much time on some social media or digital services, and that's maybe not good for the well-being. So updating those examples, I think, is very important, but also giving new examples of social well-being too, in terms of online life will be important. So that's just to give you a few examples, but I'm sure that's an area now, because of the COVID, we will have a lot to focus on, and I'm sure there will be interesting examples also from outside. Somebody else has a hand up there too, so please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I wrote that I think it's also important that we keep in mind when maybe to avoid, this is on the well-being that you just mentioned, when maybe to critically observe how we use technology, whether there may be some other ways that could be more beneficial to us, because now we've witnessed that there are many ways to use it to our benefit, but we also have to keep in mind, and this should be one of the competences we developed on when to actually step aside and maybe think outside of only digital tools.
Exactly, the self-reflection sort of on the selection of tools that are out there. Yes.
And especially, of course, within school system and when it comes to smaller children, with the screen time concerns to their health. So
yeah, exactly. We are starting to realize that more is not always better in this
Right.
context. So giving examples of that and pointers will be important. Is there anybody else who would like to take a floor and comment? Have a few more things to say. Renato, do you have anything to comment as on the issues that are already up there?
Well, I mean, we are going very much in the detail. I think some of them could be probably considered covered by the 6 lines that you showed at the beginning. Mm-hmm. But you know, that's always the question, isn't it? Whether or not to try to be as specific as possible and multiply the possibility of choosing one item that exactly describes what you have in mind, or whether to recur to label that can. Both choices are legitimate, I think. I think in this sense, it's more for you at the JRC to see whether you think that having too many options in this sense would it be an advantage or a disadvantage in terms of moving towards the version 2.2?
Well, that's definitely something that has not been decided. And we also talk about, I showed you the example from 1.0 where we had a limited amount of examples, but also we could have an online space where we have more examples, where we would have examples. It might be interesting for people to be able to see the variety, because this is exactly where you contextualize really and bring things, the fine details. We have the examples like the context of use. We talk about digital skills in education, and we talk about digital skills at work. But here is really like where you scope out, you know, like now we need, with the collaboration, today we mean this because we have new tools. And the idea exactly of dimension 4 is that by adding new things, by being timely, let's say, we could scope out and be more, without talking about like updating version, you know, 1 at a time, but actually be more sort of a revolving and be more relevant every day for people to see examples, what kind of skills, what kind of learning you should have, knowledge you should have about personal data today is different what it was 2 to 3 years ago, and so on. Stefano, I saw you had a hand up. Please, let's take one more comment, and I think we are able to take a break after that.
Can you hear me?
If you can speak a little bit louder, if you can be a little bit closer to the microphone, we can hear you barely.
Okay. I had a question about, because I saw from the comments that were posted on Mentimeter already 2 examples. In one comment, somebody wrote, interactive sharing and collaborating today are almost go almost always together. And another example, similar, somebody said, creating and mixing digital content again today, it goes together. It's very difficult that to create some digital content without reusing some, I don't know, photo or some additional content. And so I was wondering, Eve this morning said very clearly that revision process will not address, let's say, the changes of, for instance, specific competencies. I mean, you're not going to add or eliminate some of the competencies, but this kind of input that it's very likely will be gathered during this process. Are you planning, I don't know, to act upon it? Will it be taken into account? Is there even a possibility that with very strong pressures or strong indications come up in this direction, at some stage, we need to take it into account, this kind of certificate.
That's a really good point, and for the moment I cannot say it, but I'm sure like once we start this process, we will see exactly what is needed, and maybe that kind of examples are needed where we now artificially take these 21 competencies apart. Of course, when you're in the context of use, you use many of the competencies at the same time. And so it might be interesting also to think of some example scenario where you use, 2-3 different competencies. And especially the one of problem solving is almost always there. There's a little aspect of problem solving in almost all tasks. When you go online and look for something, of course you have to solve a problem. Where do I go? Is this how do I define my own question? Once you get the results, you look at them critically. There's always, a little bit of that problem solving aspect. So maybe we should actually, in our examples, that could be an idea, bring more this intervened wind aspect of competencies out. But that's definitely a good topic for further work. Thanks. Okay, so I will leave those out there. Where am I? PowerPoint here. I will leave the Mentimeters there, and I will, of course, collect the inputs, and that will be taken by us seriously. And now I stop my part, and I will go and hand over, after little convenience break, to Renato, so that we can discuss exactly about the community of practice and how this work could, like where this kind of a collaboration will take place. So I will stop sharing it now.
Okay.
And I hand over to Renato.
Thank you very much, Riina, for a very, very comprehensive presentation and the 2 very useful exercises. I propose we make a 5-6 minutes short break. We've been going on since the lunch break without interruption, through also an emotional award ceremony. So maybe we need a few minutes to collect ourselves. So we'll see you here in 6 minutes. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
So we should be back in 30 seconds.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Renato.
Fantastic. Voila.
I guess you can start.
I will start, and I start by apologizing. My mask got trapped into the cord of my glasses earlier on, and I said a German word, which is very close to an English one that you all know. So voila. So they told me that my mic was still on. So these are the nice little accidents of life, I guess, and of being live on an event like this. So I hope you've had a nice break. I'm trying to lower my voice, even though I know that it carries always a lot. So we'll probably organize ourselves in a different manner tomorrow. And voila, so we are now in the last segment. So there's a coffee Jennifer is showing. Is that a okay? Or I don't know, is there a meaning, Jennifer, to that symbol? Thanks to Breakos, nice, fantastic. So we've seen basically through the panel this morning a introduction to the issue of DigComp 2.2, moving the need to move towards the version 2.2, and particularly both Eve and Riina now in this workshop highlighted that the focus will be on the dimension 4, and also in the layout of the process of development of the new version highlighted by Riina. It was also mentioned that relatively early on, and from the step 2, there would be also the start for a consultation process of the stakeholders to get their contributions. So before I say a few words about the platform used for the community of practice that we created on the as all digital, exactly with this, having this objective in mind, and we created it I believe towards, it was shortly after the summit of last year. And so maybe not everyone knows that All Digital started basically dealing with DigComp in a more in-depth manner from 2015, when we asked Stefano Kluser, who is also among us today, to have to write the first guidelines for members, because at the time DigComp was relatively new, and not even the members of All Digital were not all familiar with it. And then All Digital was involved in 2 editions of the DigComp SAT. The last one was recently finished with certain success. Last year at the meeting in Bilbao, our chair, Achilles Kamias, went and presented the manifesto of All Digital, which makes strong references to DigComp. So this is to highlight a bit what All Digital did so far, and also let me give you a couple of figures, because we conduct every year a survey of the members, and we ask them all sorts of questions, and many questions, but there are a few questions also related to their knowledge of DigComp and how they use it, etc. In just to set a little bit, give you a little bit the scene, let's say that 40% of our members consider themselves experts, okay, of DigComp. 20% consider them use it, use DigComp, but they do not would not consider themselves expert. Another 20% is neutral. Okay, it doesn't have a precise position, and 14% is either not familiar or have not really heard about it. So voila, we have a majority of our members who use it, and a relative majority of 40% that consider themselves expert. But of course, there's new members join the organization every year, so it is to be expected that there's still some that need to catch up, and we will also find ways to facilitate this process. But the community of practice that we set up using Basecamp is currently at 85, 87 members, in the sense of people who are registered on it. And they're not all necessarily members of All Digital, and we consider this a plus, of course, because there would be no point in creating a community of practice that excludes people only because they're not a member of an organization. So even on this occasion, we definitely encourage those of you who work regularly on DigComp or have particular aspirations in relation to it or desire to contribute to the process. We encourage you to write to me. I will write my email address now in the chat, and also send an email if you would like to be added on the community of practice on Basecamp. What to do for this for this community of practice? We've had so far a few exchanges. Times people would ask questions and other members of the community would reply. So let's say that first of all is a very nice place. It's a very nice forum to get information, to get examples from of practices from other countries, etc. So I would guess, and I'm happy then to leave the floor to all of you who would like to contribute. I guess what we're looking at is at a place that is not only or exclusively a place where we work together with JRC. JRC puts their examples or questions, or requests for feedbacks. The email is coming. I'm sorry. It's that I cannot write and speak at the same time, and but it's coming shortly. As soon as I shut up, I will write my email in the chat. And so, on one hand, it's only it should be not only about exchange of information exclusively pertinent of the next DigComp framework, but also we would like also for it to be a place where people exchange information, continue to exchange information on the DigComp framework in general. So to this end, I'm happy to hear contributions. I know that Stefano had very good ideas and also has played an important role also within All Digital in terms of making it a more known framework in the course of the last years than Dasmara. And so many of you, I'm sure, will have very important input for this. So I'm happy to, if I can see any hand raising, or I don't know, Stefano, do you feel like saying something already? If Stefano is with us. Mara, you go ahead, Mara.
Yeah, I just like to throw some ideas. One is, of course, when we talk about these examples and case studies for DigComp version 2.2, then even if we are willing to contribute, we would need some structure, which probably will come from Riina, you know, how to share the examples. Are there some online docs, whatever? Do we have some workshops to discuss it more details? But it's definitely something that we can do in All Digital, this DigComp community. Another thing which I have realized preparing the panel, and actually already before having the conversations there, that it's really a lot of best practices of DigComp use in different directions. And we could all benefit from them, especially the organizations who are involved at the national level or also at their organizational level. For example, I'm not only doing things for Latvia, but I'm supporting the national coalitions for Eastern Partnership countries. And Roberto knows that I am exploiting him, telling about the digital profiles. I also use the Irish Computer Society. I heard there are examples of certifications, there are examples which have been also asked at the DigComp platform, about self-assessment tools, about let's say DigComp implementation for work needs in education. Maybe we can run some mini workshops or just maybe chats, about different topics, and therefore it would be a very useful support and resource, for the other members of the community. Just throwing idea.
Many thanks, Mara. Indeed, the idea of some sort of workshops, online workshops, or exchanges using, starting from Basecamp, but using either WebEx or maybe again Microsoft Teams or another application would be very useful, and we are definitely taking that into account. Is there anyone else who would like to? Maybe Riina, also, if I can still go back to you, what would be your expectation from this kind of platform? And first of all, do you have a number of contributors in mind? I mean, we are talking stakeholder, which is a very generic term, but I mean, would you find yourself satisfied with 100, a community of 100, a community of 150, 200? What is the number that tells you, wow, this is really feedback that is reflective of a very important majority?
That's a good question, and definitely it has to be sort of ongoing sort of dialogue between the people who use it and then experts, because people who use it, on the one hand, they put things in practice, they see what's relevant, they see the training needs, and we have to, of course, answer to those. On the other hand, experts are those who look forward. They also think ahead, what should be, what this is the new thing coming, we should foresee this happening in DigComp or being there. And so it's a fine balance, but I think hard to say the number, it's more the amount of input that we get, like those examples, like what Mara was saying also earlier, good practices, give us pointers to that, because like here, concretely, like that would be like one place where we can concretely have those things in the same place that I can look at them, other people can look at them, reflect, go back and see like, oh, I actually have something similar, but we addressed it in a different way. And that's interesting for us, like, oh, how differently you did it. And then we can reflect on those statements, that kind of differences and that kind of variety. So for me, it's the what people bring into it is more important than the number. And also like the variety of contexts, and then the variety of languages. We can look around, I can look around what happens in Finland, but that's just one thing. I can't look at the Latvia, so it's important that there's somebody there who's pointing out and translating things. So those are the, let's say, the scope, variety, and the depth, let's say, are interesting for us.
Thank you very much, Riina. Indeed, that the issue of language is also always very important. I've seen for a moment Stefano's hand raised, and voila, I see it again. So Stefano, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, sorry before, but I wasn't in front of the computer. And I think now we are somehow mixing two different things. Mara's comment, I think, was more about useful development for the community of practice, and I agree that that could be sharing experiences is definitely one of the main reasons why we launched this community of practice. We know that it's not easy to do it, in the sense that if you want to do it like we have done in the JRC report, DigComp into action, DigComp at work, and so on. There you have more or less rich description of experiences which are useful, and I recommend everybody who's interested to look at experiences of DigComp implementation, to give a look at those reports, because they are really rich with information. The problem is the way, I mean, those reports are interesting, but also because the decision that was made to publish them in a format which is graphically very nice, but makes it very difficult to update them. And also they are official publications on the committee, so you cannot update them on your own. Makes it difficult to enrich them in a more dynamic way. So we discussed it at some stage, interesting, but this is kind of a small project that you would really need to develop, how to move, let's say, those case studies, those short description of experiences, sometimes into a more interactive and dynamic environment, which might be inside or linked to the community of practice online, so that people can have an easier access to those things. But then we know that this is technically engaging. It takes time to produce case studies and even short descriptions of experiences. So Mara's suggestion, I think, is a good one, in the sense that organizing, I don't know, every once a month or once every 2 months, a call, a short meeting, a workshop, or focusing on some experience of one of the members of the community of practice would be a good way to know more about the members of this community of practice, to learn about DigComp implementation, the challenges that you face, how you solve them, and so on. And it could become also a rich source of information then to create a short description based on the information that is exchanged in those informally in those contexts. So we may try to do that, but even that, I mean, it does require a little bit of structured effort, because somebody has to take the initiative of deciding who to invite to such a meeting once every 2 months. You have to schedule the meetings, you have to prepare them a little bit, otherwise they become confused and so on. So, but I think it's a very good idea. Now, I don't know if it would be nice if you could link this kind of new development in the community of practice to the process that Riina has been talking about, of supporting her in this revision process of DigComp. It's not immediately evident how to do it, but we could think about it. And in any case, I think that possibly, I mean, the way Riina described them, some of the steps of the revision process may be envisaged as moments like the one we are having today. I mean, moments in which a group of people online, they meet and share comments, to discuss topics and so on. So in any case, participating to this revision process should create interesting opportunities for members of the community of practice to know each other a little bit better, which I think is important.
Thank you very much, Stefano. You've put a lot of meat on the grill, but I think it's going to be very tasty meat. Sorry for the vegetarians. I'm one of those who likes meat, so I usually associate it with positive things. I would like to ask, because I can see that there's roughly 20-something, 25 participants right now. Is there someone who is not from either the European Union or even not Europe in general, but who is nevertheless interested in learning more about DigComp in their country? Just out of curiosity, because I cannot really tell from the list of all the names, but I guess it would be interesting if there were someone. We know that there are some of one of our members, at least ECCC in Poland, whose presentation you've listened to this morning during the panel. They also have an experience, an interesting project in relation to India, where they basically introduced DigComp framework in India. DigComp framework itself was also used 2 years ago as the basis of a report of the Global Digital Literacy Index by the UNESCO. So I think if we were to find a way at some point also to involve people who are not based in the Union, it would be an interesting thing, because the point of view of someone who comes from the outside is always interesting. And I think especially also when it comes to digital competences, there are situations in different countries that probably would be illuminating for us also to realize. If there's no one from outside Europe, is there anyone else who would like to add more to what we discussed so far? This is a very interesting links being exchanged on the chat. That's very good. And for all those of you who don't know yet, Stefano is also the person who will be reporting back to the plenary, to the closing plenary tomorrow afternoon at roughly 2:15 p.m. And so Stefano will talk about this workshop, but also the next one, which I think is the one from Hollywood, I think. The two workshops in the DigComp stream. And thank you, Stefano, for doing it. I can assure you it's not easy to find the rapporteurs because it's more an intensive task than people realize. It's about listening carefully to the workshops and having the ability to synthesize in a short time what was the gist of the workshop itself, and what, if any, the proposal to move forward are coming out. I would definitely say that from this point of view, the DigComp stream of workshops is one of those where we will come with proposals to move forward, and all that you said, all the proposals you made in relation to the how to make the community of practice function and make it also more interesting tool for its participants is being taken note of, and we will come forward with proposals then for the future. Is there anyone here who is not on the community of practice and who has never heard of it before? Okay, I do assume that everybody knows then what it is. Dora, you say, does the yes mean a no, or does it? Do you know the DigComp?
No, it means a yes. I don't know.
Okay, okay. So okay. You can. You're welcome to join, and
Yes, I will.
just send me the email, and then we'll. It's a Basecamp group, with all the possibilities that it offers as a platform. We will add on top of that, because I think what we all realized in the last few months, we will need also a platform to have this meeting I would say, Stefano, once every 2 months, maybe, but otherwise every 6 weeks or so. I see a hand raised. It was, I didn't catch the name. Okay, Michelina Petruzzi, please go ahead.
Me too, I don't know exactly what does it mean.
Okay. So
Okay.
the community of practice is, in this sense, a collection of people who work who deal with the DigComp framework. They use it for their work, and they have. And so the community in itself is a place where you can exchange the different practices, and the physical shape, let's say the software shape this community takes is a Basecamp group. So we created in our own Basecamp in All Digital a group which is for people, where we invite. Okay, once you write, you receive an invitation.
Yeah. I submitted in Basecamp email, but I didn't work about it.
Okay.
Not yet.
Try out of safety to send me an email. That will definitely work. Because have you done it recently?
Last week, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I cannot exclude that in the last week we were looking at a lot of other things, but no worry, we'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I did see, I still see Michelina's hand raised. Is there some other hand? Okay. Mara.
Yeah, I just more wanting to help you close up this discussion. So I think we can be top-down and bottom-up approaches for activating community. So one thing I could commit myself together with you, Renato, and maybe all digital stuff, that we create some simple survey which we can share on Basecamp, about the topics that the members would want to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we have then these mini workshops, for example, I'm interesting DigComp for health professionals, DigComp for public servants. We are now working DigComp for librarians. So share the organizations who have experience or interest. And then, of course, if we run the workshops, then it's very important also in maybe the people outside the community, for example, the national coalitions, yeah, because their interest is different applications of digital competences, yeah. This is one thing. The other thing is, I think we had some examples that the members ask themselves, do you have self-assessment tools, or do you have examples of implementing in the education system? So then this is a bottom-up approach, and I would really suggest members to ask the questions, because we can benefit each from others. This is the thing about how we can activate the community, because I think it should be activated. And then, of course, from Riina's side, agreeing with All Digital, it's the structure and the way how we go forward contributing to DigComp 2.2. I think there are two action lines. The one lies with All Digital, yeah, and the other one is All Digital together with Joint Research Center. Yeah. That's all from my side. And sorry, I have to leave now because I have another meeting. See you all tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mara. And that indeed sums up. I think, yes, we can. Very succinct note by Mara. I think we can close. I've collected all that was proposed here, and then you'll hear also tomorrow in the plenary the Stefano's report, but we will definitely pick up at least on the idea of a survey to be published on to be open, to be asked, to be put to the community of practice so that we can also ascertain where the interest of the majority lies and with which other arguments and aspects of the issue we can treat. I would like to thank you all very much. Okay, we can finish 2 minutes earlier. We were supposed to finish at 16:39. We finish at 16:37. And see you in about 8 minutes for the second round of lightning talks. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jennifer, for the support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.